Communist China is buying up the stock market, the mercantiles in Hollywood, and producing big-budget films directed by the director of Transformers with an escape from New York plot line where Donald Trump's a dictator and the Communist Chinese are going to take him out. No nation would ever put up with such outrageous rubbing our faces in the dirt. But the globalists, they just think that Trump is a hiccup along the way on their total quest for planetary domination and domination of the individual. So you're not going to see this on Fox and Friends. You're not going to, hear about this even on the Bill O'Reilly show. And I don't say that to differentiate myself from Fox. I say it in sadness because I wish this info was getting out to the general public. But it's hidden, actually, in the establishment's publications like Bloomberg, the Associated Press, and others. In fact, the only place that's talking about it is the New York Post, strangely enough, and they're getting it right, but only part of it. And that's the bad news, folks. Yes, I've had a lot of exuberance. In fact, none of it has been irrational because really great things are happening. People are waking up, but the globalists at Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan that run the show are coming against him. Now, before I get to this news, boy, it sure felt good for CNN and Fox and MSNBC and other talk show hosts to say, oh, look at the Trump supporters. They've been duped. Why, he's got 3 former senior individuals from Goldman Sachs inside of his administration. Why, everybody knows Goldman Sachs is the bad guy. Why, Alex Jones says it all the time. I've seen hundreds of news articles where they chortle and laugh with glee and rub their hands together and say, look at the sellout Alex Jones claiming Goldman Sachs was bad, but now his boy, Trump, the evil billionaire, is stacking his administration with rich people and Goldman Sachs to screw you over. And the left howls with anger. And one of the only cogent points they would make to me at the different marches I've attended, like the Women's March in D.C. on January 21st, is, you effing white male? Well, I guess that's accurate. How do you feel now? He's got a bunch of Goldman Sachs people. And as I always said, well, let's go look at Bannon and Mnuchin and one of the other people. All of them have been against globalism. All of them have tried to expand cheaper housing. All of them have tried to have fairer trade deals here in the United States. And all of them were on the inside at the highest levels and watched it happening, and for decades have been speaking out against it. And now Trump gets in. He tries to cut taxes to the poor, the middle class, the nouveau riche. He tries to cut our corporate income tax so it brings back over $1 trillion here. The big corporations wrote that because they didn't want U.S. competition. They wanted it to be exclusionary because they had sweetheart deals with China so they could leave. And he moves to get us out of the carbon tax, the Paris agreements that are unconstitutional. He kills the TPP that literally just took over all of our sovereignty. He begins renegotiating NAFTA and GATT. He has to do that because those were laws passed by Congress. He's doing everything right. He tells the central banks, you've hoarded trillions and trillions and trillions of taxpayer money in bailouts and not loaned any of it out to the public. You're now going to loan it out at very low interest rates to get the economy going. Now, previous presidents would order more bailouts for foreign banks, and they'd follow it. But the Federal Reserve's saying, oh, no, we're private. They'd always said they weren't. We're going to do what we want now, the New York Fed that actually runs it. Your regional banks are a totally separate system of the Fed, a subgroup that just controls, the cash and the currency and implements the centralized private regulations. But I don't want to give a history lesson here. Here's the big news. Want a drum roll? Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are putting out bad news on the street and bad news to their investors to drive down the stock market. They're announcing the Trump rally's over. They're doing everything they can to throw a wet blanket on it. And they're announcing that they're going to start jacking up interest rates, which has already begun, to make sure you don't get any of your own taxpayer money back that they hoard to be able to give those loans. And they are really pushing as hard as they can publicly to kill the Trump recovery. And they're now having Paul Ryan, their blue-eyed angel of death that presides over this economy, the Speaker of the House, saying, we're not going to be looking at tax cuts this year, might even not be next year. This country is in cardiac arrest. Trump has defibrillators out. He got them on our chest. And now Paul Ryan's trying to keep him from pulling the trigger. Just the announcement that he was going to defibrillate, that he was going to give mouth-to-mouth, that Trump was going to try to get our heart going again, got the heart starting to go, and now it's starting to stop, and they are celebrating with intense pleasure. Let me give you a few of the headlines. Delaying Trump's tax cut is a huge risk. And the New York Post editorial board goes on to say, this will kill growth, and we need this right now. We are stalled out. Let me give you what's happening. Bloomberg is celebrating. Goldman Sachs says Trump rally has been curbed. That's right. You got to curb that rally, and they admit they've been trying to do it. Goldman Sachs, I thought Goldman Sachs ran his White House. That's why he's killing TPP, their master plan, killing all their programs, killing globalism, killing one-sided trade deals. Oh, because they're openly against him, because they gave 100% of their money to Hillary and zero to Trump. Oh, but I know having a recovery and having a future doesn't matter to mainline conservatives and liberals. They just want to be able to walk up to me on the street and say, you're a sellout. Donald Trump's for Goldman Sachs. It just feels good to say nobody's good. There could never be a recovery. Nobody could fight globalism. Look at this little jewel. Chelsea Clinton wrote a new book, Governing Global Health. Oh, how global government's going to be based on controlling your health and controlling big plagues that are going to happen. And only a global government, a global cage, a global grid can keep you safe from the coming plagues. Ever watch my film Endgame? Came out in 2007, where I say they'll use global pandemics to bring in global government. Of course, I didn't just look at a crystal ball. I read the Banff Canada documents, over 2,000 pages of them, that came out when Judicial Watch sued and got the North American Union meeting documents. And boy, guess what was going on at that meeting? Well, Code Next was going on, and Agenda 21, and I'm going to tell you about that and tie it all together in a moment. But here are the headlines. Goldman Sachs says Trump rally has been curbed. Bloomberg. Goldman Sachs economists are starting to worry about President Trump. Yes, Bloomberg's putting all the bad news out now. Time to sell the dollar on erratic Trump policies. J.P. Morgan, they're all putting out the line. Because you know what got leaked last week by good intelligence agencies was that George Soros is basically naked shorting the dollar and the pound to punish us, to get us back under global government. And so, of course, we can't have him go bankrupt. We've got to have J.P. Morgan and Bloomberg and Goldman Sachs all come out against America and England. They're doing that too. And all together, naked short our currency and our stock market to destroy it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, because I forgot. Because Trump works for you, right? He's doing what you want. No, he's doing the opposite. And I'm almost convinced the average American doesn't even deserve Trump. I'm serious. They just want to fantasize how they're on the winning team. And if the media says you're on the winning team by destroying Trump, well, God forbid he's trying to give you a life raft in the middle of the frozen Arctic Ocean. God forbid he gives you a space heater or some food. God forbid he actually not be out to get you. Because after all, you don't deserve that, like the elites have told me, because the public is a bunch of scum, Alex. And they're evil, and they inherently want to be hurt. Alex, you'll never be in a bad position because you're smart. You're one of us. You'll learn, Alex. One day you'll come and work for us. One day. That's why we're going to let you live. Well, guess what? Trump doesn't want to be part of this either. And I will never be part of screwing everyone over. Because let me tell you, a big percentage of people do care, and they know the truth, and they're as upset about this as I am. And together, we're going to beat you. You understand that? I don't care what you turn the public into, or if 80% of them act like animals. I'm not lowering to your level and feeding on them. I'm not a cannibal. Bloomberg, sworn to break up your family, sworn to get your guns, an admitted technocrat who brags in profiles that he wants to run every facet of your life and have you live in a 225-square-foot coffin apartment with everything you do surveilled and no more families and total control. He is a monster. He says he wants to decide what you're going to eat. He calls himself the great technocrat. He made tens of billions of dollars extra just in the last few years because he's wired into all the high-frequency trading and all the grids and all the smart meters and everything. He wrote the systems with the NSA that literally control you and game you. And so if Microsoft wants a system to game you, or Amazon wants one, or Alibaba, they got to go to him because he's given all the advanced technology as the little high priest. They've decided to manage it to screw you over. Man, he makes me sick. And then he's got all the little trendies loving it because in all these publications and in little announcements, you won, you're a winner, you're part of the winning team, you live in downtown Austin, you're under the smart meters, yeah, you don't have kids, yeah, you don't have a yard, yeah, we DNA test your dog's poop to make sure you're not letting your dog poop outside, but that's not a surveillance grid, that's not beyond Big Brother or Brave New World, yeah, you're down with it. You're traveling to another dimension. It's called Agenda 21. It's called Code Next, which is next code for the next download, your next directive in the Borg assimilation into a system where you're assimilated to be destroyed. The end of humanity, openly announced, the end of man. Why the future doesn't need us. Hundreds of books, thousands of white papers I read 20 years ago, and now I'm watching it happen. I'm living it. And I go down, and there's people with huge mustaches and a pink sock and a green sock dancing with potbellies. And they go, screw you, Alex. We don't care. And I'm like, it's a master plan to take you down. I think your mustache is cool, actually. I think your green and red sock is cool. But listen, you're not individual by being screwed over by this and by believing that this is how you're cool with smart meters, everything you do being tracked, and all your friends run around and wave your arms, but everybody goes home alone at night because there is no family. None of it's real. You're living a simulation. You're living a fraud. If sports is a primitive form of virtual reality, it's real reality, but based in a controlled confine where the outcome won't affect the true power structure. And now they're extrapolating it out to VR and total systems that remove you from reality. And I could see that myself by studying it, but then I go read their own white papers and they're giggling and laughing about it. While they're building armored fortresses in jungle mountain keeps from Tasmania to Kauai and not letting any electronics be there, and their children being brought up like Amish. Because when they're done with this taking over, they know it's a weapon system. It's not some uplifting, great, beautiful thing they're entering into. And so Trump's like, we're not doing this. We're not going to make everybody poor and dumb everybody down and turn off the, the lights and put people in coffins. What the hell is this? And they're like, oh, really? Watch us deep six everything. And he knows he's battling them. He knows he's racing to try to bring prosperity. But they're going to make it trendy to go, look, the economy's plunging. Leftists, dump your stocks. Show Trump that we'll live in failure together. Time to sell the dollar on erratic Trump policies. J.P. Morgan says, that's right, he's erratic, he's bad, he's evil, stabilizing the economy. So they say, crash the economy, and when they crash it, whose fault is it? It's Trump and all his supporters. Wow. And oh, the Republicans say, sorry, not gonna let the poor and middle class have tax cuts. My name's Paul Ryan, and I have twinkly blue eyes, so it's okay. It feels so good, doesn't it? To screw people over. And then we've got all the other documents. Oh, we've got them all right here. How world leaders were duped into investing billions over manipulated global warming data, all the data coming out, all of it was fake thermometers, fake readings, fake to bring in global government. The only thing that's not accurate in the Daily Mail and other publications is they weren't duped. They were put in to do it. And yes, top engineers that were there witnessing it all are coming out. But see, since that got exposed 6 years ago, they've just moved on to call it change. If there's any change, you're going to have to give your change over that's in your pocket to them, except they're getting rid of change. Everything's digital under the governing global health. Who runs the world and why? Oh, there's no global governance, but Chelsea, when she's not sucking $2 billion out of Haiti refugee money or relief money, she's telling you how there's going to be a global government and just how great it is to be part of it. And it's going to run health because big plagues are coming. They're going to kill a lot of people, and they're going to have to manage the whole thing and manage everybody dying and not let those pesky Christian missionaries in to actually help folks. And I need to stop them and just, you know, take everything they've got. But don't worry, there's going to be lots of company because they're going to make you real poor too so they can teach you. Because you wouldn't figure out how they were screwing you over, so now they're going to hurt you real bad. And Chelsea wants more. We come back, I'm going to play a few clips that document this that are extremely powerful. And I'm also going to tie this in to why Nancy Pelosi, you know, comes out and says, who's got dirt on Trump? What does Putin have on him that, you know, that makes him go this course? Well, Pelosi, for one, it's because Russia isn't doing anything to the U.S. Russia isn't expanding. But more importantly, he's been advised by patriots in the government on another course out of this, pulling Europe out of the global system, pulling the U.K. out. That's already started to happen. Russia's already pulled out. Japan doesn't want to be part of it once out now. They were induced after they were conquered by the U.S. to be part of it. China says it wants to be the new dominant force. So there's a huge shift happening as we reach the critical crossroads. Le Pen wants to pull out. She's in the lead as well. She says we're at the crossroads for the end of the West or not, the end of freedom. And so at this great point, when they're finally about to kill all freedom and prosperity, some people are kind of hesitating for a moment. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.